After 6 months of secret beta testing and then a year of closed beta, Kefir has finally released Frostborn to the world on Android, and iOS is coming soon. Frostborn is a true multiplayer game with dynamic skills for each of the 15 classes you can specialize in, an intriguing storyline based on Norse mythology, difficult co-op challenges, and epic PvP. Frostborn can be challenging if you do not know what you are doing, so in this video I have 331 tips and tricks for you. When you first start the game, you will be prompted to choose between Warrior, Bowman, and Cure. This is not a permanent choice, as you will be able to switch between these classes anytime you want. So I recommend choosing the Bowman because the bow that it will give you is the best weapon out of the three for protecting your base at a low level. You will also be able to change your appearance later on, but if you want to change your name later on, it will cost you coins, so choose wisely. After you hit confirm, talk to the elder of the town and then to the war chief, who will make you choose a land to gather resources in. The Viking lands is currently the only option in the game, so choose that one and then make your way out of the town to head to your camp. When you arrive at your camp, the game begins. Your task is to build up an awesome house that can contain the amazing wealth you will get in the game. This house can be raided by others, but if you follow the steps that I have in this video, you will have nothing to worry about and you will grow extremely powerful and wealthy in this game. Your first step to getting there is to follow the tasks on the top left of your screen. Some advanced players might ignore this part because they know what they are doing, but they will regret it because these tasks unlock valuable rewards, and if you do them out of order, the game will force you to repeat them to get credit for the task, which is extremely annoying. After you finish the first 3 acts, the task will slow down and it is easy to just start playing the game. During those 3 acts, you will start to notice that advancing in this game involves 3 main things: upgrading your district, building up your camp, and upgrading classes. As you level up your district to the maximum level of 190, you will access new perks to play in the game. Every time your craftsman is upgraded, you will get access to new blueprints, with the last set of blueprints unlocking at level 111. Every time your bank is upgraded, you will get more storage slots to keep items in town, which are unraidable. The architect allows you to build more chests and doors. The shaman increases your chance to find rare items. The tax collector gives you a daily supply of silver. The tavern owner gives you a daily quest for silver. The trader allows you to spend that silver on a selection of items, but I don't recommend this in most situations because silver is a rare resource for free-to-play players. The scout lets you spend silver to unlock a new event which gives influence points if you defeat waves of enemies. When you are doing this event, I recommend bringing minimal gear because you will not get a break until it is over, and it is hard to get back in there and grab the items you dropped. Or you can watch some of our gameplay videos so that you can see exactly what you need to complete each wave. In regards to the scout, it is important to note that you can do any level if you exit your district and enter the popular district, but it does cost twice as much silver to do so. In the popular district, you will notice a repair bench in which you can spend silver to repair your best items. Now eventually we will be able to build one of these repair benches in our own districts, which will not cost us any silver to use. But that does not happen until district level 183, so it is best to get used to spending silver for the time being. In the popular district, you will also notice an altar to Odin, which I will be talking about later, and a statue. Once a day, you can activate that statue to get access to a yellow zone that is not a PvP zone. This means that once a day, you can loot a tomb and kill its boss without the concern of being ganked by other players. And then lastly, the horse vendor and dog master are just for show right now, as they represent content that is currently not in the game. So that is an overview of upgrading your district in Newheim. The rest of this video was recorded 3 months ago, but Global was postponed, so I didn't release it because I wanted to make sure it was up to date. I have gone through it and everything is now up to date, but I have switched microphones since then, so sometimes the audio might be a little weird. The second and bigger area of progression is upgrading your camp, which is often referred to by players as your base. As you build your base, there are 5 things you need to keep in mind. First, you need to decide whether or not you are going going to play this game with a team. Frostborn is designed to be a 4-player game, and while it is possible to succeed at this game by yourself, it is a lot more fun with teammates, even if they're not the best teammates. If you do not have friends that want to play with you, I recommend clicking on Settings and joining Frostborn's official Discord. I have also put a link in the pinned comment of this video. This is going to be the best place to find teammates. Once you find those teammates, you can click on this button to create a family, and then click on the plus signs to invite them into it. If you do not see that person, it is probably because they are on a different server, so go to settings and make sure that you guys are on the same server. If you play on a server that is outside of your region, you will experience more lag, but this is worse for some than others. For example, I do not experience that much lag when I play on the European and Asian servers, even though I live in North America. Now, it is important to note that your family is not like clans from other games. Rather, it is more like a squad functions in PUBG. So you do not want to invite someone who is barely ever going to play. And ideally, you want people that you can trust with everything you have, but I'll talk more about that later on. The reason this is important to decide now is once you join your family, your bases will be put in juxtaposition, and you can connect your walls with your family members to build a larger and more powerful base. The second thing you need to keep in mind is where you are going to place your doors. A well-placed door is the most effective way of defending your base, so the devs have limited us to only 20 doors per player. When placing these doors, you need to factor in defense, workflow, and the position of your teammates' walls and doors. The third thing to note is that this trapdoor takes you into your vault, which includes 25 slots that no one will ever be able to raid. So make sure to put your best items in this vault, excluding of course the ones that you are going to use to defend your base. Items placed in your workbenches are also safe from being raided, but stuff in your boxes are not unless you are able to defend them. Also, you can control whether or not your teammates have access to your workbenches or boxes with this button. The fourth thing you need to keep in mind is that you cannot plant trees. So if you would like to incorporate trees into your house design, then you will want to make sure not to cut down the ones that start out on your land. The last thing that you will want to keep in mind is that your base will not be able to be raided for the first 48 hours of starting the game. So you have some time to prepare. It will also not be raided if you are below level 10, but if you follow the tips in this video, you will hit level 10 within the first 2 hours of playing the game. Obviously, I have a lot more tips on this subject, so if you are interested, make sure to check out my playlist on designing and protecting your base. As you visit the zones available to you, more of the world map will unlock. Once it is fully unlocked, it will look something like this. When you are first starting off, you will want to spend the majority of your time in the green zones. The green zones provide wood, stone, cloth, rope, fiber, seeds, and all of the iron that you will need when you are first starting off. The chests of the green zone also have some great items and will even on rare occasion have some weapons in them. So it's good to check them, but a lot of people scavenge for chests, so sometimes it is hard to get to them first. But that is okay because the main purpose for farming the green zone is to get rich in its main resources and then using your low-level workbenches to turn those resources into building materials, clothing, food, medicine, and weapons. The best weapon to use in the green zone is the spear, and the best class to use when you're first starting off is the cure because it gives you some extra sustainability. But once you hit level 30, the best class to use is the Sorcerer 1, which allows you to one-shot most enemies with a spear sneak attack. Getting a sneak attack is achieved by pressing this button to sneak and then attacking an enemy from behind. This will cause you to do 300% of the decimal damage rounded up. I'll explain a little bit more how that works in another video. If you finish farming all of the resources of a zone and you still have room in your backpack, just leave the zone and then re-enter the zone. As long as the chests were empty and everyone else also left the zone will reset, including a new group of random people. This will allow you to farm a lot more resources every time you travel to that zone. Generally, the green zone is a relaxing place to farm, but every once in a while you will find people that try to rally a bunch of enemies over to kill you. This is annoying, but as long as you keep your health high, you will never die to this because you can simply run to the edge of the zone for immediate safety. After you do this once or twice, they will realize they're wasting their time and they are unlikely to do it again. If you are farming with your teammates, I recommend going over to one of these chests when no one else is around and stacking all of your items so that you have more room to gather resources as a team. Also, if you have one teammate who is willing to buy the level 2 backpack for $2 at the Carnage event, then you guys can take turns hauling items back to the base while the rest of the team continues to farm, which will save a ton of energy. As you level up, you will get 1 extra hit point every time you level up, and then 3 extra hit points at level 99, totaling at 200 base hit points. Once you get to around level 25, you will want to start looking for nails and leather strips. Nails are extremely rare in the game until you are able to build your workbench, so it is important that before you build this workbench, you try not to use nails. And leather strips are rare for newer players, so it is best to save up on them as well. The best way to find nails and leather strips is to scavenge the chest of the yellow and red PvP zones without being noticed by players who have turned on aggressive mode. When you enter one of these zones, it will ask you if you want to enter as a solo or team player. Entering as a solo player is safer, but there are only 2 chests in that zone, whereas if you enter as a team player, there will be 4 chests in that zone and a much better chance of finding a tomb. Tombs are nice because there are 2 unguarded chests in the beginning of each of them, which also might have leather strips and nails. These tombs have lots of other chests with even more nails and leather strips, but completing them requires quite a bit of time, which makes it more likely that you will get caught by aggressive players and requires more weapons and food, which makes it more costly when you die. So I recommend a level 1 armor, a level 1 backpack, a stack of 10 food items, speed potions if you have them, and a spear or green weapon to scavenge for chests. If a giant is guarding one of the chests, then just take him out about 15 seconds past that chest and then double back around, making sure to get close enough that it activates his skill so that you have enough time to loot the chest before he gets to you. I also recommend using the Hunter class if you have it unlocked, because the extra speed will help you avoid enemies and aggressive players. If an aggressive player attacks you, make sure to run through mobs so that if he keeps chasing you, he will end up having to fight the mobs instead of you. This will usually make your attacker take a longer route before getting to you, which usually gives you enough time to get away. But even using this method of scavenging, you will probably get killed quite a few times. Personally, I think that is one of the best parts of this game because it's kind of like you're playing hide and go seek with strangers that want to kill you. This of course would be horrifying in real life, but it is an exhilarating challenge in this game. And eventually you will grow strong enough to where you no longer have to run away. Once you get these nails and leather strips, you can use them to make strong hatchets and strong pickaxes to farm for copper and maple in those same yellow and red zones, which requires you to play death hide and seek once again. A lot of players give up at this point in the game. Don't give up. To some people, building your workbench is the hardest challenge of Frostborn. But once your team farms the 5 copper deposits and 9 maple to build your workbench, your whole team will become intermediate players and the game will get a lot easier because it will allow you to make your own nails, which is the key to a lot of the best gear, including shovels, which is the most efficient weapon in the game. So don't give up, because I promise you the satisfaction of placing that workbench and knowing that no one can ever take it from you is well worth it. After building your workbench, you will want to start preparing for the Sanctum of Odin. Odin's is the key to becoming an advanced player in the game, but it will take you quite a bit of preparation. At this time, you will need a lot more iron than the green zones will afford you, pushing you to start to farm in the yellow and red rock zones. Luckily, farming iron in these zones is not nearly as dangerous as scavenging chests and tombs, because not only are you using level 1 pickaxes, but you can farm most of the iron while staying near the edge of the map, which usually allows you to escape when you see an aggressive player. You will also want to start doing tombs at this time, because tombs provide a lot of resources and items that you cannot get anywhere else in the game. And it shouldn't be too hard, because once you build your workbench, you can craft the resources needed to do the tomb really quickly, which will decrease your chances of getting caught while doing it. How you approach doing the tomb differs based on the resources you are going for, but as a general rule, it is best to come and kill the boss right away, loot his stuff, loot the chest in the final room, and then work your way back towards the beginning of the tomb. But again, how you do the tomb is largely dependent on what resources you are trying to get while doing it. If you are having trouble getting any resources in this game, make sure to check out my series called The Efficacious Way to Get Rich, in which I cover hundreds of tips and tricks on farming every resource of this game. Once you gather enough materials for some green melee weapons, bows, food, quilted armor, and several staffs of support, you can start completing Odins. The enemies and chests of Odins will give you wood, silver, and gold pendants, which will allow you to open the caches on the first floor of Odins. These caches have amazing armor, weapons, and some resources for advanced play. Killing the giant chief on the first floor gives you the key to open the Sanctum, and then killing the necromancer at the end of the Sanctum will give you a key to the forge. Once you get 3 forge keys, your team can enter the forge, which allows you to earn more pendants, and the bosses of the forge often drop the best and rarest items in the game. The first boss of the forge, called the Whisperer, will also drop a key to the archives, which is extremely difficult, but the bosses of the archives give extremely rare PvP gear. In fact, one of the things that I love about Frostborn is that most of the best items in the game have been removed from the shop, forcing players to actually play the game to get the best items. That being said, if you are struggling and don't mind paying for an advantage on completing this challenge, the devs have created a PvE gear set specifically for you called the Instigator set. This set is not the best gear for PvP unless you are maybe the Hunter class, but it can help you earn that amazing gear by helping you complete Odins. But I can also help you complete Odins for free just by watching my playlist on Odins, so if you are planning to spend money on this game, I would recommend spending it first on the backpack at the Carnage event, then on the repair table, then on premium, then if you still have more money you want to spend, I recommend the first savings pack after it is full, and then on the second saving pack after it is full, and then after all that, if you still want to spend more money, then I would recommend buying the metal walls, because even if you're not planning on doing a lot of raiding, you can trade the vast amount of resources that you will get from this pack with active players for the best items in the game. That being said, if you are going to trade items in this game, make sure to watch my video on how to do it so that you don't get cheated. So those are the best things to spend your money on, but if you are a completely free-to-play player, then you have come to the right place, because it is possible to play Frostborn completely free-to-play, and I would love to show you how. The most pay-to-win aspect of Frostborn is raiding, because it is almost impossible to farm for lots of stone and metal walls, but it is not that difficult to buy them. However, this is actually not that big of a deal if you understand Frostborn's new rating system, so here's how it works. When you start the game, you will start out with a 48-hour shield. During this time, no one can raid you, which allows you to build up lots of walls to protect your stuff for when the shield disappears. When a family leader hits start raid, it will begin a 20-minute search for other similar families that no longer have a shield. When it finds 4 families of similar size, level, and activity, it will put the 4 of you together so that you can raid each other for 20 minutes. After that 20-minute window is over, you will get another 48-hour shield. But the brilliance of Frostborn's matchmaking system is that it includes activity. So if you don't raid other people, you will likely get matched with other people that don't raid other people either, which means that they are not likely to raid you. Now, you're not completely safe because some people won't raid for months and then decide that this is the day they want to raid someone, but as long as your team activates the raid search every time your shield runs out, you can make sure that you are always on during that raiding window, which means that you can defend your base, and defenders get a huge advantage in this game because they can use walls to control sight and they can use doors to control movement, which usually allows the defender to pick when the battle happens and when it doesn't. So if played well, this allows the defender to kill the attacker and claim their stuff as their own. Furthermore, while stone and metal walls are pay to win, the sledgehammer and Nord bombs used to break those metal walls are actually easier to obtain by playing the game, creating a strange dichotomy between free-to-play and pay-to-win players at high levels. The second thing that players generally feel are pay-to-win is classes, but I would argue that the devs did not set this up as pay-to-win, but rather that it is an extremely grindy part of the game. And of course, spending money could alleviate some of that grind. Regardless, understanding the classes will help you a lot, so let me give you some tips on classes. As I mentioned earlier, when you start the game, I recommend using the cure to farm the green zones because it will give you the most sustainability and ultimately save you a lot of food. When you first start leveling up, it will be easy to learn all of the classes. When you unlock the healer, I recommend at least one person on your team keeping a staff of defense on you so that you can heal the entire team to save on more food. But once you reach level 20, the classes start to require getting mastery points to unlock. You can obtain these mastery points by donating weapons and armor to the altar at the center of Newheim. The first class that I recommend donating mastery points for is the Sorcerer one because the extra damage will make farming green zones way easier and easily pay for itself over time. That being said, if your family is choosing roles and you will not be farming a lot of green zones, then it doesn't really make sense for you to get the Sorcerer one. After that, I recommend spending the mastery points to get Hunter 1 so that you can have the extra speed for scavenging chests and farming maple, copper, and iron in the PvP zones. Then I recommend that at least one person in your family spend the mastery points to get the Illusionist 1 so that you can reset enemies at Odin's. After that, you need to start working towards a PvE class. For most people, I recommend choosing the Berserk 2 because the Berserk is the best PvE class in the game because it gets a huge bonus with shovels, which is the most efficient weapon in the game, and you can get amazing sneak attacks with the Vranax, which is the best early game sneak attack weapon. And the Berserk receives 20% less damage from ranged attacks, which is incredibly helpful at Odin's. That being said, I do recommend that at least one of your teammates works towards Rogue 2 because after you complete Odin's once, the Rogue can use piercing daggers to initiate sneak attacks, which will make all of your Berserkers with shovels do even more damage, and eventually the Rogue will allow you to do crazy damage with fire daggers, assuming that someone in your team has a repair bench to repair it afterwards. So 3 Berserkers and 1 Rogue is my recommendation, but if you are planning on maxing out your Ranger line, the Pathfinder is also a really good PvE choice because it gives you a lot of extra damage with simple bows, which is really helpful against wood giants and eventually allows you to use less of a 5-shot crossbow to group together and kill all of the giants at Odin's. After you have gotten your PvE class, then you can start working towards your PvP class. When choosing your PvP class, you need to coordinate with your family to make sure you guys are not choosing the same roles. In the current meta, there are 3 good team compositions right now. The first one and most balanced of the 3 is a tank, a support, and 2 ranged damage dealers, usually 1 mage and 1 ranger. The second one is 2 tanks, a support, and a damage dealer. This team comp is the easiest as it allows you to do well even if you make some mistakes. And then the third one is 2 bruisers and 2 damage dealers, almost always including 1 hunter. This is the most difficult composition to pull off, but a team that is really skilled at PvP can use this composition to take out half the enemy team before they even realize they're in a fight. It is also important that every team has at least one of these classes on their team because these classes all have initiation skills, which allows your team to choose when it is best to initiate a fight in open battle. So after talking to your family, choosing your class will largely be based on your playstyle. All of the classes are amazing and a good choice, but here are a few tips on each of the classes. In addition to being the best PvE class, a Berserk with high damage weapon can also be a good PvP character because its extreme damage can often throw off another player who thought that they had time to heal. However, a talented ranged player can easily outmaneuver a Berserk and whittle down his health. The Protector is an incredibly strong tank. He is not that great at solo play because he has trouble landing kills, but on a team, the Protector is amazing. And with a healer, he is practically unkillable. In fact, in the current meta, I recommend that every team has a Protector in their family because a talented Protector that knows when to initiate can make almost any team win that fight. The Thrasher is the second best tank in the game and has the best team initiation skill in the game. If a Thrasher lands his leap well and his team is on the same page, that team can easily get a conclusive advantage before the fight has even begun. The Ice Mage is a decent solo character, but it is an amazing team character. His Ice Wall can not only initiate team battles, but often splits the enemy team, giving your team a huge advantage. The Fire Mage is the highest damage dealer in the game if he is able to build up his fire stacks, and he has a good long-range team stun. The stun duration is not long enough to make it a good skill for initiating a fight, but it is one of the best skills to use right as the teams start to fight. The Illusionist is probably the best mage overall right now, and this is particularly true in solo play. In fact, the Illusionist might be the best solo class in the game because not only does he do a lot of damage, but his clones can make him a little bit tanky, and he can single-handedly shred through a lot of the durability of his enemy's armor in just a few seconds. The healer can hold its own in solo play, but no other class is as good for a team than the healer. Healing is hard to come by in the middle of PvP, so a good healer can easily double the effectiveness of his team. In fact, in the current meta, I believe that every team should have a healer. The sorcerer is most easily used to help your team in PvE, but a talented sorcerer can shut down the enemy with his curse spell, which is far more powerful than most people realize. The shaman is the best solo class out of the support classes, but it is still much better in a team context. You have to keep in mind that with all three of these classes, their weapons, like the Hell Staff, give their entire team huge bonuses. The shaman is particularly helpful because he can take one player out of the battle for 8 seconds, which gives his team a significant numbers advantage. The rogue is a great PvE character, being able to deal over 1,000 damage with one sneak attack on monsters, and also has the most potential for burst damage as a PvP character, but his skills are also difficult to use in a PvP context. The bandit is actually more of a tank character. Even though he uses medium armor, his health and crowd control skills make him function more like a tank. His area stun can be difficult to use, but since it stuns enemies and not teammates, if it is landed well, it can often guarantee a team win. The assassin is one of the best solo PvP classes in the game. A good assassin can often take down half your health before you even realize you are in a fight. But after the assassin uses his burst of damage, he is just a short-range damage dealer, which can easily be outmaneuvered in both solo and team play. The Pathfinder is an amazing range damage dealer, but the Pathfinder's true power lies in the ability to mark people, which makes everyone do more damage to that target. This damage is multiplicative to other buffs, making it even more powerful than it seems at first glance. The Sharpshooter is also a great range damage dealer, and he has quite a bit of crowd control, including a stun arrow that can travel up to 18 squares. And then lastly, the Hunter is one of the best solo PvP classes because he can run quite a bit faster than everyone else, which allows him to run away or chase someone better than anyone else. So that is an overview of the 15 classes, but I obviously have a lot more information on each one, and the devs have said that they are going to add even more classes to the game. So if you want to know everything there is to know about all of the classes, make sure to check out my playlist covering every detail of every class. As I mentioned earlier, many players feel like the class system is pay to win, but in actuality, the class system is just a ridiculous grind. The reason I say this is because it would be very expensive for a pay to win player to buy class ranks, costing at least $500 to max out one line. That being said, I'm not surprised that it feels pay to win, as it lines up perfectly with my scientific formula for free to play games, which measures how likely a game community feels like a game is pay to win. On that scale, the first 10 classes rank in grade A, obviously with the first 5 being a lot easier than the second 5, and the last 5 fit in grade B, which is unfortunate because the last 5 includes some of the best classes. These classes are new, so I am hopeful that the devs will make this easier in the future, and I have reached out to the devs multiple times encouraging them to ease up on the constraints because the grind is not pleasant. In my opinion, the best way to fix this problem would be to unlock each class separately so that you don't have to upgrade the 2 classes that you don't want just to max out the class that you do want. This would allow a tier 2 free-to-play player to max out the class of their choice within 3 months, giving that one class a grade S, which would feel really great. If you agree, make sure to let the devs know in their Discord. As you play the game, there are a ton of other things that you will find in this game, so let me go through them real quick. When you first hit level 6 and travel in the world map, the Carnage event will appear. This is an amazing event which gives you a huge boost early on. Make sure to go quickly to give yourself enough time to bring everything home. The Forgotten Tomb event can also appear on rare occasions. This is a really fun event for new players and offers great loot. If you have or can make a strong pickaxe, make sure to bring it to collect the copper at the end. And if you are going with a team, you will have some extra inventory space left over, so it might be good to bring grabbing 2 normal hatchets to cut down the trees in that area. The Cursed Town event is one of the most common events you will see, and it has decent loot for new players, but it is also a PvP event, so only bring gear you are willing to lose, or go with your team with your best gear if you want to PvP with other low-level teams. If you're an advanced player, this event is kind of a ghost town, but if you're an advanced player looking for a great PvP event, then the Burial Ground is the much better choice. This event includes hundreds of enemies, usually killed by multiple teams clearing that area, and then after clearing the 4 waves, a boss will appear. At this point, if it hasn't happened already, many of the teams will go into aggressive mode to kill any of the other teams, so that they will be the only ones to kill the boss Gorm and get the awesome loot in his cache. This event is designed to be a bloodbath, and while I do recommend doing it because it sounds so fun, I do not recommend doing it for loot unless your team is confident in your PvP skills. When you farm yellow and red zones, you will sometimes run into the invisible bosses Gunner Viper, Hawkdire, and Brand Warrior. Each of these bosses will drop their unique ring, and once you collect all 3, you will be able to unlock the Tomb of Ash, which sometimes appears as an extra tomb in the Team Red Zone. The Tomb of Ash has incredibly fun challenges and a lot of copper, so make sure to bring several strong pickaxes. But keep in mind that this is still a PvP zone. Once you open it with the rings, any team that has access to that zone can enter and try to take it from you. So once you make it past the first fire trap, I recommend turning it back on so it is harder for other teams to follow you. The loot in this event is kind of trash right now, which is sad because it is one of the most fun events. So I encourage the devs to add a chance to get a level 3 backpack, because that would definitely create a lot more PvP in this zone. We'll see if they do it. One little bit of trivia on the Tomb of Ash is that the 3 invisible bosses and the Tomb of Ash extend the life of a zone, making it to where the zone does not reset as quickly if any of those 4 things are in that zone. Lastly, once you reach level 50, your team can take on Hell's Envoy. Hell's Envoy is a strong boss with 3 powerful skills that can easily devastate your whole team. As in all these events, I give a lot more tips in my video dedicated to that event, but the main thing you need to know with Hell's Envoy is that you should clear all of the surrounding mobs first and then fight him away from the middle, so that if you die, you can come back and get your stuff. And then lastly, he drops some really good items. So that is an overview of the game, but in addition to these 293 tips and tricks, I have 38 more for you. If you have good loot on you, then take it home. This might seem simple, but our greed and optimism can often make us want to farm just a little bit more, and though we might often get away with it, when we don't, it costs us a lot, so it is best to get in the habit of bringing good loot home. This is especially true if you kill someone and get good loot, because often that player will then go and get better gear or get his teammates to log on and then come back and kill you. So bring his stuff home to lock it in. If someone goes down instead of dying, that means they have a teammate in that zone, so be careful. If one of your teammates goes down, stays in one place, and does not get attacked anymore, then you have 50 seconds to revive them. And then if they go down again after you revive them, that time is reduced to 34 seconds, and then to 25, and then 20, and then 17, and so on until the 50th time, in which they will die instantly. If a player moves while they are down, those times I just mentioned are reduced by 33%. So if you are down, it is best to stay still as much as you can. If a player dies, all of their items lose between 15 to 20% of their durability. So technically, if no one ever did any PvP, then we would all be a lot richer, but it's really fun to do PvP, and if you're good at it, it is lucrative, so just keep it in mind. Equipment in Frostborn is divided into 4 colors, but they are not all created equal. For example, the Poison Bow, which is classified as rare, is a little bit better than the Reaper Staff, which is classified as extremely rare. And Odin's Altar is even worse, so there are some items you never want to put in the altar, like a blade, and there are other items like the Crossbow of Shadows that I always put in the altar. Sometimes you will get raided by someone that you don't think you can beat in a fight, so in that case the best thing to do is grab a cheap bow and just pop out the door and shoot them and then go back in. This is really annoying and can often make them run away. And then other times your team is not on, or you need to stall them until your team does get on. And in that case, using firebombs is really effective because you can damage several people on their team, and the firebombs ignore armor, which allows you to do quite a bit of damage, making them have to heal more. In the current system, you can choose when you want to be in a raiding window, so I recommend making sure that you are choosing that time when you are on. Furthermore, I recommend always preparing your base before you click that button so that you are always prepared when your base is being raided, because when you are actually getting raided, you probably won't be thinking that clearly. On the flip side, if you are raiding someone else, breaking walls quickly usually freaks out the defender, which makes it hard for them to respond well. As soon as you start the game, you should try to build all of your level 1 walls and doors immediately. This is not difficult to do, and it will make your base a lot harder to raid. Furthermore, it will help you realize flaws in your base design early, so if you end up needing to rearrange something, you can just destroy level 1 walls instead of the level 2 or 3 walls if you had already upgraded it. Likewise, you should build all 40 of your chests right away. Perfectionists will be very bothered by this suggestion because there will be a lot of empty chests. But the more empty chests you have, the more likely that people raiding your base will waste lockpicks by opening the wrong chest. I also recommend upgrading those chests as much as you can, because not only will that be wasting higher level lockpicks when they raid those empty chests, but all of the resources you use to upgrade those chests will never be able to be stolen from you. There are a ton of items that don't exist in the game yet, like the horse and the boat. It will probably come out with those in future updates, and I will post videos about them as soon as they do. But in the meantime, I would suggest watching my video on all the items that do not exist in the game. You can cancel a spell by putting your finger exactly on this and then releasing it. By clicking on your minimap, you will make a ping alerting your teammates to the position of that ping on their minimap. This is an incredibly helpful tool for telling your teammates where an enemy is or anything else that you guys might be talking about. On that note, I strongly recommend joining voice chat with your team, because even if you do not feel comfortable talking, just being able to listen to your teammates that do feel comfortable talking will make a huge difference in this game, especially in PvP. You can also use this trick of filling your inventory with non-resource items and 1 copper or 1 maple, and then clicking your character on auto, which will reveal if there is copper or maple on the map and then the direction to find it. If you move while in a bush, people can see the grass moving. They probably won't notice this if they aren't looking for you, but they will easily see it if they are. Also, there are a ton of actions that will reveal your location if you do it while hiding in the grass. For example, any of the emotes, including sitting, will expose you, switching classes will expose you, switching between marauder modes will expose you, and even using potions, while it will not expose your person, they will be able to hear the potion being used, and if they are close enough, they will see the symbol appear above your head. I recommend building a common area for the most commonly shared workbenches. I also explain more about this in my base building video. By holding and then dragging down on the class icon, you can switch between the 3 classes of that line. As long as you are in the same zone, you will always spawn in the same place. Knowing where someone else's spawn point is can give you an advantage, as it is easier to create an ambush. Well, that's it guys, hope that helps. If you like this game, make sure to subscribe to this channel, because it is my favorite game and I will be making tutorials on every aspect of this game. I also have a gameplay channel that covers Frostborn gameplay, where I play with many of the best players in the world. Alright guys, see you next time.